we're breaking free. Yeah, we're breaking free. No more oppression, it's out for liberty. Breaking free. Yeah, we're taking a stand. Freedom's in our hearts, we're reclaiming our land. They try to silence us, but we won't be tamed. Voices getting loud, can't keep us in chains. We got the power, we got the might. Together we can shine, together we can fight. Feel the rhythm in your feet, it's time to stand tall. Raise your voice and shout, we're breaking down the walls. We're breaking free, yeah, we're breaking free. No more oppression, it's out for liberty. Breaking free, yeah, we're taking a stand. Freedom's in our hearts, we're reclaiming our land. They try to silence us, but we won't be tamed. Voices getting louder, can't keep us in chains. We got the power, we got the might. Together we can shine, together we can fight. Feel the rhythm in your feet, it's time to stand tall. Raise your voice and shout, we're breaking down the walls. We're breaking free, yeah, we're breaking free. No more oppression, it's out for liberty. Breaking free, yeah, we're taking a stand. Freedom's in our hearts, we're reclaiming our land. We're claiming our land, yeah.
I hate this show. Oh my goodness.
Welcome, everybody. It's a Tuesday night edition of Are You Smarter Than a Politician? Welcome, everyone. I didn't even realize that rhymed. That was pretty cool. I'm going to pretend I did that on purpose, but let me throw up my slides here. This is Are You Smarter Than a Politician? The game show where we put political ideologies to the test, expose bad policy, and champion bold new ideas for a freer future. So this week, we're talking about they closed our churches, they printed your savings into the air, bankrupted small towns, and tapped your phone. They say America's too far gone, too corrupt, too controlled, too broke to fix. But what if the solution's not more government, it's less? What if saving America means breaking the cult of control and putting your power back where it belongs, with you? So now we have three bold voices from the Libertarian Party here, not to fix the system, but to dismantle it. And we're going to debate pandemic power abuse, sound money, school choice, surveillance, endless war, police reform, local nullification, gerrymandering, food freedom, and much more. So the real question tonight is, can the Libertarian Party save America? So joining us, welcome back to Stephen Nekhaila. Stephen is the chairman of the Libertarian Party. How are you tonight, Stephen?
I'm doing good. I'm happy to be back on the show, and I want to thank you, Free, for creating this show and doing something really positive for the liberty movement and platforming people who are freedom, pro-liberty, and doing it in such a positive way. I really enjoyed being on last time at the Florida State Convention. Used to be chair for Florida for a few years, and really proud of that work. Been chair of the LNC for the past, time has flown by, 6 months. And really enjoying it. Glad to be back on, and thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, you're doing a great job, and we had a really great time at the Florida convention. We're both Florida guys, so that was a lot of fun to see all of our friends, and we did a show live there, and I think we got out to, I think it was 67,000 people live, and it was crazy. So thanks for coming back. Also joining us tonight is Brian McWilliams. Brian, how are you tonight?
I'm doing fantastic. I see we got two Florida men versus two Pennsylvania men. I mean, I'm in Los Angeles now, but I am a proud Philadelphian from PA originally, of course, where freedom was founded. So no, I'm doing fantastic. It's wonderful to be on the show. I'm glad to be on with you, and I'm excited to see what kind of a beating I can put down on my two LNC compatriots here.
Ooh, I like the attitude. That's a true Philly attitude. I appreciate that. Introduce yourself and tell us about your role with the Libertarian Party.
Absolutely. So, Brian McWilliams, I was known before I joined the party for Lions of Liberty. I'm a founder of that longtime podcasting network, was a website that went larger, and still doing that show with Mean Age Daydream on the network. But yeah, I took on the role with the Libertarian Party and took over as comms director. I think I've been with the party about a year and a half. I joined up right before we went hard with the last convention. So that, of course, was trial by fire, trying to spin things the right way, trying to get the most media attention and juggle all of that while maintaining our libertarian values and trying to make sure that people knew that we were still fighting for what we believed was right, even though Trump was going to be appearing there, and RFK and Vivek and all these other people that were firebrands, that they were there for a purpose, and that purpose is to try to fight for liberty in the long run. So I'm still fighting for liberty in the long run, and it's a thankless job.
That was a crazy weekend. I was front row center for the Trump speech. I was sitting with Gabriel Shipton, Julian Assange's brother, and I was wondering if the Secret Service were going to shoot at us because some of the Kennedy people were about to throw chickens at Trump. And it looked hairy there for a while. I'm like, is this how I go out? This would be a wild way to go out. So you guys did a great job on that. That was a crazy weekend. So much going on.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. And last but not least is Andy Buchkovich. How are you tonight, Andy?
Nervous that I'm about to be exposed as the ignoramus that I am, but excited to be here.
No, that's not going to happen. I hope I pronounced your name correctly there. And could you introduce yourself to everybody and tell everybody about the role you do with the Libertarian Party?
Yeah, so my title is the CTO of the National Libertarian Party. I run all the tech stuff for the National Party.
Awesome. I hear we have some good stuff in the pipeline with that, and excited to see all that. Do we have a Philadelphia or a Pennsylvania rivalry here? I see a Steelers hat.
Yeah, I didn't realize Brian was from Pennsylvania. I was really excited there for half a second until he finished his sentence.
You can't hear it in my voice. You can't tell the attitude. I used to like people. He's got a Pittsburgh hat on. I used to like people from Pittsburgh until I went to Penn State, and it's half Philly, half Pittsburgh, and then you got the hockey rivalry, and then just all goes to hell.
It's true. The wrong side of the Susquehanna.
All right. Well, let's see if that plays into it. You can join us also on YouTube and Rumble at those addresses. Please share this out. Let's get this out to as many people as possible. This is going to be a fun night. And let me jump into the chat here and see who's joined us so far.
Steven's unjoining us. He's getting in his car and literally driving away.
I'm relocating because my daughter, she sees me through the window and she wants her daddy, and I feel bad sometimes, but she didn't get much sleep tonight. She's 3, and so I'm just gonna move outside. So my wife is like, "She saw you," and I'm like, "All right, I'm gonna relocate."
I think this is the first time that anybody's used the getaway car at the beginning. So this is an interesting strategy.
Yeah, Daddy. What happened to your dad? He went out for a libertarian debate podcast and never came home.
That was 18 years ago. No.
He went out for some cigarettes and for a debate and never came back. Yeah.
I was debating it. I'm like, as soon as she sees me come home, she's a daddy's girl. So I'm plugged up. I'm in.
Enjoy it while they're young. Now they just stop by and ask for like $1,000 and then leave. So
it's the best thing.
We're libertarians. They think we have $1,000. Get out of here.
Yeah, exactly. David's here. Welcome, David. David's going to be on a future episode. Looking forward to that. Scientific's here. He said you're late. Who had the pregnancy scare? Hopefully not me. Shirley's joining us from across the pond. Good morning to you, Shirley, over there. Hey, Chris, welcome. Dan's here. Oh, he just said hi to Terry. So I retract my hello to Dan. He just said hi to Terry. Kat shared it. Thank you, Kat. All right. Chris jumped over to the YouTube. Nice. 100 to Steve for going 6 months as LP chair and not being in a padded room, giving himself a permanent hug. Yeah, that might be the end part of this trip. We don't know. We'll see. 100 to Andy for nailing the Dustin from the Stranger Things look.
Unlike a lot of people from Western PA, I still have my teeth.
David says
I'm out here, so there's still time.
David says, I feel like they both rather team up with Florida than any other PA city. Yeah, that's fair. Casey's here. Welcome, Casey. Yeah, all right. We're even, Dan. All right, we're good. All right, so jumped into the chat there. And all right, so if someone were to win tonight, they'd get the Ron Paul holding the Ron Paul trophy. Also, we have the Ron Paul and the Murray Rothbard bobbleheads. We have Mike Johnson's signature cologne, Swamp Ass, and we have the Ayn Rand Fountainhead teddy bear. And of course, we have the Lego Killdozer, because nobody talks about the Killdozer more than me. The rules are, I am the government. Whatever I say goes. Scoring errors count. Life isn't fair. Suck it up, Buttercup. Nobody cares. The rules are, you can debate each other. You can veto an answer. You can tariff someone else's answer. And in the true spirit of reaching across the aisle, you can use the Democratic option and redistribute someone else's answer if they worked hard for an answer and you just want to take it with no effort. Everyone starts off with negative 500 points because the government gets paid first. Here's how the scoring works. The chat controls the score. So the chat can give or take up to 100 points from the contestants. So jump into the chat. Oh, I didn't even say hi to Terry. Let me say hi to Terry. Terry, how are you tonight? Sorry, I breezed over you there, Terry. Yeah.
Hi, everybody. Let's go chat. Let's keep me busy tonight, please. All right, gentlemen, game on.
I did stop and look to see if you had a dolphin on your head, though. I did check for that first.
I logged in early and checked to see if there was a hidden video somewhere. So there.
There you go. Good plan. All right. Thanks, Terry. Yeah, Terry will be back in the chat, running the chat and running the scoring. So any scoring complaints go directly to Terry. So thank you, Terry.
Last time it was like a slot machine with all the chat. It was like it was spinning like crazy, man. I don't know how you do it.
It was pandemonium. It was just like boom, 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 like down the screen. It was nuts. All right, so put Terry back in the back. Thanks, Terry. And all right, jump back into it. So this is the lightning round, and the lightning round starts with Steven. The category is financial freedom. Should the government be banned from creating a CBDC, a central bank digital currency?
Not only should the government be banned from creating a CBDC, they should be banned from creating currency in general. I don't think the government has any room creating and inflating fiat currency, which, of course, since 1913, we've been basically playing with monopoly money. So I think we should ban currency from the government completely and bring it back to the free market. Bitcoin, gold-backed currency, fiat, if people want it, let the free market decide, and let's go from there.
I agree. Great answer. All right, Brian, to you. Should your financial accounts be private from the government?
Well, absolutely. They should be private from the government. I mean, look how many times the government has found weaselly ways to get into your personal finances. Look how many ways they've worked with banks to deplatform individuals because of their personal preferences. I mean, if there's nothing else, that alone, the fact that the government can try to debank you, and CBDCs plays into that, by the way. If you looked at what's going on in the UK, where they talk about the fact that you may be limited on buying a certain amount of fuels, of course, the government should be limited from looking into your private finances because they will find a way to punish you. They will use it for an agenda, and they will find a way to forward whatever globalist agenda they happen to have in hand. And if you don't go along with it, you will be debanked. You will be punished. So no, they should have zero access, and frankly, be slapped if they try to put their eyeballs on it.
Excellent. Off to a strong start. Excellent. Andy, to you. Should the U.S. return to sound money principles?
That implies that they are still in the business of printing currency in general. And so I guess in theory, yes, but they really shouldn't have any principles in that regard. They just shouldn't print currency in general.
I agree. Good answer. All right, Stephen, back to you. Should financial institutions be barred from reporting without a warrant?
Reporting without a warrant. So is that when a financial institution reports to the government without a warrant? Yeah, I mean, they really should.
Like a transaction over $600 or something like that, you know?
Right. So I heard that the government actually, I mean, I'm sure they've always been watching what you buy. If you buy guns, if you buy ammo, whatever the case is, I would like them to be completely out of that. I'm sure their teeth are sunk really far in, more than we know. So yeah, they should absolutely be banned. I would support legislation to ban the government from doing a lot of things. It's actually some of the only bans I support are bans on government. So yes, I think the government should be banned from accepting any financial information from institutions. If we have to turn around the other way, unless there's a warrant, they should not be working with the government. That goes for financial institutions, that goes for telecom institutions. There should be a separation between the government and corporations completely.
I feel like we're on that like cab game show. What was that?
Cash
for the
cab.
taxi? Cash cab. Yeah, I feel like you're on cash cab. So it's good look for us.
My truck will
Now
light
we'll
up.
get in trouble.
Except we get no cash because we're all advocating for the government being barred from giving it to us. So you have to build a like gold cab or something like that.
Crypto cab.
Crypto cab, perfect.
There we go. I could steal that name too and probably get in trouble for that. So, all right, Brian, to you. Should asset forfeiture without conviction be abolished?
Well, of course, you have to abolish all asset forfeiture. For being frank, I mean, look at what's happening with property taxes. You lucky bastards in Florida might get away with it, but yeah, property seizure without conviction is insane. Look how many times it's happened. Look how many police departments, frankly, depend on asset seizure to run their departments. They pull people over, they seize their assets, they lock them up in courts because they have no conviction, and then even if you're found innocent, good luck getting your money back. So they know the system and they abuse the system because of that exact loophole. So of course they should be abolished, and you should not be able to convict or go for asset forfeiture without conviction.
I read that the latest on Florida having no property taxes is going to be if you've paid off your mortgage. So it's going to be people that came down here, paid cash, and the working people with mortgages still will have to pay the property tax. So of course, the rich will have no property taxes and the working class will still pay property taxes. So not as good as it sounded originally. And I'm shocked. I'm literally shocked. So Andy, to you. Should retirement age be your choice, not the government's?
Of course. The only reason that they have any say in it at all is because they steal our money to fund a retirement program that has significantly lower yields than investing in the market would on your own. If they didn't do that, they would have no say and we'd all have more money. So easy. Yeah.
Let me jump into the chat here and grab a couple more. Scientific gave 100 points to Mr. Clean, and I think that's a loofah and a sponge or something.
Your toilet bowl will never look better.
Cat, 100 to Stephen for government not printing money, 100 to Brian for a well-versed opinion on zero access, and Andy got 100 for the Steeler hat.
That's garbage.
That was good. People like props, so
all right. Well, look at this.
So there we go. There we go. That's pretty good. There's points in your future for that for sure. 100 points to the first to say ban the government.
That's too easy now.
Yeah, 100 to Brian for ban asset forfeiture. 500 to Brian for no asset seizure. 500 to Brian just for having the best radio voice. Yeah, he's got good pipes for sure.
Thank you.
All right, back to it. Stephen, to you. Category is education. Should education dollars follow the student?
So first off, I want to say the seats on the Ford Raptor are way better than my office, so I might make this my permanent office. If I ever do another live TV show, I'm just going to have me here with my camera on the dash and jumping a dune or something. But if we are going to be taxed by the government, my daughter's actually going to be going to private school. I do think the dollar should go to the student and not to the general education fund. It should follow the student. Of course, libertarians, we want to get government out of education entirely and keep it strictly up to the parents to decide their education. I think the free market works best, just like it does in everything else. The government, we actually pay for our education through property taxes and our rent. So we're already paying for it, and you're paying for it for the rest of your life. So wouldn't it be so much better if we didn't have to pay for it and actually only paid for quality education and have a free market education? I think so. I think we should open up the market to education and abolish the Department of Education at the state and federal level and the county level. But until then, I do think that dollars should follow the student at the very least, and our property taxes should follow our kids wherever we decide to put them in school.
Excellent. And if you do decide to get into a low speed chase, make sure you're doing it on my show, okay?
Well, the funny thing is my radar detector keeps going off, and I'm like parked in front of my house. So I don't know if the feds are watching me or what, but usually I don't get a radar ding right outside my neighborhood. So it's kind of interesting.
I want to tear Steven's answer real quick though, because I don't know if you guys saw Randy Weingarten. I think she just came out. She made like $600,000 last year, and she's out there crying poverty for everybody involved in the school systems. And she made like, the amount of money that all goes to administration. The money follows Randy. Like it's like the opposite of an Indian wedding where they're throwing flower petals in front of the bride and groom. That's Randy Weingarten, but the money's just falling out of her ass everywhere she goes. She's got that much cash following her around.
I think so. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say we had a school board candidate rundown here, and when they were, if their kids were in public school, they said no, I put my kids in private school, and they're running for school board, which is kind of interesting. I don't know if there's a bunch of irony in there or not. Maybe I don't know, but I thought that was kind of an interesting answer. Yeah, I want to be in board of education, but my kids are in private school.
We got 100 points for Steve because he's been the LP chair for 6 months and he's already about to be living in his car. I'll give Brian 100 points for the shirt if he can tell me where to get one.
This was a Christmas gift, oddly enough, from my ultra leftist best friend back in Pennsylvania. He sent it to me for Christmas years ago. I have no idea, and it's a beautiful shirt.
Yeah. 100 to Steven for the car bubble. 100 to Brian for the shirt. 100 to Brian for the shirt. Yeah, I knew the shirt was a good move. And then 100 to Steven for looking like he's in 8 Mile. So, all right. The chat is already fire. Appreciate it. Over 1,000 people so far already. So keep sharing it out. This is going to be a fun one, I can tell. All right. Let's see here. Brian, to you. Should school choice be a basic right? I put it twice because it was such a great question, apparently.
Well, yeah. I mean, should it be a basic right? I mean, no, school choice should not be a basic right because going to school should not be a basic right, should it? I mean, we're talking about a system wherein you're forced to pay for something, and it should be, anything that's a right that is forced upon you means it's slave labor of somebody else. So no, it should not be a basic right, but it should be in your power to decide where you want to go to school, that you should be able to choose whether or not you want to send your kid A or B, especially when the outcomes are so clear when public school is involved.
All right. Andy, to you. Category is gun rights. Should all gun laws be abolished?
I'm trying to think of a more clever way to say yes, but this is a pretty easy one. Yes. Come and take it.
We've had some differing opinions on that. So sometimes that one gets a different answer, but yeah, I agree with you. So I say you're right. So that's all that counts.
As the founding fathers were envisioning people having private cannons, the same level of weaponry that the military had. I'm for no restrictions on gun ownership or any weapon ownership.
Andy, should the LNC crowdfund a cannon?
Should the what?
Should the LNC crowdfund a cannon?
I mean, it couldn't hurt.
I feel like we need a cannon.
I feel like our new headquarters should be a freestanding battleship, like that. They try to make that, Freedom Land or whatever in the middle of the ocean. We should just have a battleship that sails around, and we can buy cannons, we can outfit it, we can make it really, really nice. Velvet couches, velour, if we want to save a little money.
Make it look like the side of the Buccaneers Stadium.
Yeah, exactly.
Like a boat with a cannon off the side. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
No. We should make it look like as Epstein's Island. Then we know that we're completely safe. We're not gonna fuck with it.
And we can do the game show on the
side. We'll have the castle, the little Moloch right on the side there. People will be like, not that one.
And we just got kicked off YouTube.
No.
All right. That was good. All right. Stephen, to you. Should red flag laws be declared unconstitutional?
Absolutely. Florida has red flag laws. So if you have a girlfriend or a neighbor or somebody who thinks you're crazy, you're like crazy libertarian down the street, they can just call it in. The police come, they take your guns, and then you have to go to court to fight for your guns back, which is a Second Amendment right to own guns. It's almost like saying, well, that guy down the street, he's been talking too much. We got to take away his First Amendment right, and they put a gag order on you. If you keep saying that, you're going to go to jail or alligator Alcatraz or whatever. So I think it is a big infringement on our constitutional right to firearms. And there are some county sheriffs in Florida who use it hundreds of thousands of times a year. And there's some who don't. And so it's clearly being used to weaponize the police and take our guns away. So I think we should absolutely ban red flag laws. Red flag Ron DeSantis is the one that pioneered that. It's completely anti-Second Amendment, and it's only a few steps away from the government deciding you shouldn't have firearms, so we're just going to go after you and take your guns. I think it's very dangerous, antithetical to everything the founding fathers fought for, and they would be appalled by red flag laws. So it should absolutely be abolished, and every chance we get, we should be talking bad about politicians who are proponents of it, 100%.
Speaking of who are proponents of red flag laws, do you remember who championed the red flag laws here in Florida? She's a prominent figure in the Trump administration now.
Bondi?
Pam
Oh,
Bondi.
isn't it? Pam Bondi.
It was
That's
Pam
right.
Bondi. It was Pam
Yeah,
Bondi.
yeah.
Yeah. So and Trump praised her for them. So yeah.
Leave your bump
Little
stock.
trivia for you. I went the trivia route on the game show. All right, Brian, to you. Should gun-free zones be banned?
Well, of course they should be banned. I mean, there's no point to them whatsoever. They clearly haven't worked in any way, shape, or form. Gun-free zone is a advertisement for anybody that has a gun to take advantage of it. But also, a strong argument can be made that gun-free zones are the one place that teachers should be armed. If we're talking about the most prominent gun-free zones are, public parks where we know tons of violence happens, schools, which violence happens in, and libraries where violence happens in, but probably very quietly to obey the rules of the library. So yeah, obviously there's no point to them. Gun-free zones serve no purpose other than to make people feel good about hating guns.
Excellent answer. All right, Andy, to you. Category is medical freedom. Should patients be allowed to receive any treatment?
Above the age of 18 or with parental consent for treatments that are not permanently life-altering in a negative way. Yeah, for sure. You have the right to your own body. Saying that you can't get a medical treatment as a consenting adult is saying that you don't own your own body, which begs the question, who does?
Exactly. Great answer. You caught the little tricky part there and played it nicely.
It's because I'm the most right wing of these three. You can tell because my Twitter's private.
Well, I was just thinking, there's a situation in Germany where a guy had, not that this was necessarily a medical procedure, but he had made an agreement with another German man who wanted to eat him as a cannibal. And he was like, yes, I permit this. I like this. It's what I'm into. I want to be eaten as a cannibal. I'm like, people might not like it, but hey, man, that's your choice. You agreed to be eaten as a cannibal. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
Brian, what
we're-
you're saying is libertarians are pro-cannibalism?
No, just Germans.
So what you're saying is
that just got clipped. That just got clipped right there. That's the headline. That's a wrap.
Libertarians come out as pro-cannibal.
Yeah. Well, then we'll, the government will swing completely the opposite way, and you won't be able to chew your fingernails anymore. So we'll be banned from chewing our fingernails.
it's like that Jordan Peterson bit. So what you're saying is, I love it.
Yeah.
All right. Stephen, to you. Should all medical licensing be privatized?
That's a very interesting one. Ultimately, yes. And I think all licensing should be privatized. I think that if there's a market for standardization, it will come. I can tell you with restaurants, for instance, we do a lot of our private food safety through a company called Ecolab. So Ecolab comes in, they're way more strict than the health inspectors. I can tell you Wendy's, which I'm a franchisee of, is way more strict than the health inspectors. And generally speaking, if you go to a lot of these big chains, you're more likely to get better food safety in a lot of cases, because there is that degree of privatization. And, I've seen what people get away with from the inspectors and everybody else. So, I mean, the biggest cause of death is medical malpractice or injuries from surgeries and doctors and things like that. So it's not like the government has your back when it comes to these things. There's still a lot of room for error, and they're basically protected, because as long as they do the thing, if it's medical, well, I gave them the medicine. And guess what? These companies that provide the medicine, they take these doctors out for steak dinners. I had a cousin who used to work for a large pharmaceutical company, so she used to tell me what she used to do in getting doctors on board with new medicines and things like that. They would wine and dine these doctors. And guess what? If you have a injury from the medication or from the procedure, a lot of these companies have immunity from lawsuits. So you think you're being covered because you're going to a government medical doctor who has all the certifications, and you can't even sue for your injuries in a lot of cases because the medicine and the procedures are providing are protected by the state. So in a true free market, I think you should absolutely be able to go and do these things. Furthermore, a lot of medical doctors or doctors in general who have alternative treatments are not allowed to do business or say that their treatments are effective, because the government has a monopoly, or they have a government monopoly, and the corporations push them. So if there's a life-saving treatment, let's say vitamin D, for instance, which cuts your risk of acute respiratory distress syndrome by half, how many people were talking about vitamin D during COVID? Nobody, because it costs 10 cents a pill and it lowered your risk of respiratory syndrome by half. Weren't pushing it because it doesn't make money. And if you take the vaccine or whatever else and hey, you have heart problems, guess what? You're on your own, buddy. But you went through the medical doctor and they have their license, and they pushed a certain thing because that's how the system's set up. So if we want better medical care, which we all want, if we want better standardizations, we should absolutely be asking for the free market to provide these standardizations, and we should be able to go to the doctors that we feel most comfortable with to provide those treatments. So it's between your doctor and you as a patient. It's not between you, the doctor, and the government and corporations in between. So if we were to open up the free market, absolutely, we'd get good professional medical care, just like, doctors are going to want those certifications. They're going to want the private free market to be able to give them these certifications, so we know who to trust, but also on our terms, and with the full ability to go after certain procedures and medicine in court if we end up getting elements that we were bargaining for. So yes, we should open up to the free market, and we should allow the judicial system to be able to sue these companies when we do actually not get what we're bargaining for when it comes to these treatments. 100%.
Great answer. All right, Brian, to you. Should patients, parents, and doctors decide treatment independently?
Should patients, parents, and doctors decide treatment independently
without government interference?
Okay, thank you. I was like, without talking to each other? Yeah, I mean, absolutely. The government, I mean, what purview the government has, I think, should only be restricted to, as Andy referenced earlier, to age limits. Because I do think that especially in certain circumstances where it could be a harmful procedure that is pretty much non-alterable once it happens, that's the only time I would favor a government intervention. And I know it's a tricky wicket, right, when it comes to libertarianism, because you say we want freedom of choice, we want the government to be removed from these types of choices. But I do wonder, especially when you have governments that will enable children specifically to make choices outside of a parental purview. For example, I live in California. There have been several bills on the record that would allow children, and don't forget, California is a sanctuary state, by the way, for trans children, that could go outside of parental knowledge to make choices that are inalterable to their bodies, and these are enabled by activists. In a circumstance like that, even though I despise the government, it makes it very difficult to say that government should not be involved, because if there is no check from a power like a government on that, then you have simply an activist organization convincing kids to do something without parental consent. And that is a problem. So I can't say full board that the government should not be involved in any of these choices. It's a similar debate to, I guess, age of consent laws with sexualization of minors. I think all of us would say that you should have a limit on that, even though it's the government doing it. I don't know who else has the power to install that. And frankly, it has to be done in certain situations.
All right.
Gonna
great.
lose a lot of points for that probably, but I don't give a shit.
I really thought we were going to land the plane without mentioning age of consent.
You know what, man? Something, Arvin Bora sometimes.
Let's just get it out of the way in the first third. Just get it out there. Yeah. All right, Andy, to you. Should parents have the final say on all medical decisions for their kids?
By and large, yes. But as everybody's kind of gotten to with their answers so far, there's some limits where the child has autonomy beyond what the parents can decide. There are things that are so negative that a child can't possibly consent to them, even if their parents are saying it's okay. And so, like Brian's point about age of consent, there's an age at which parents are custodians of children's rights, but they are not the holder of children's rights. And so they can't just make any decision absolutely. But by and large, yes, it should be the parents. Certainly if it's the parents or the government, it should be the parents.
I've given you a couple tough ones. That's another good answer. I'd like it. All right. Stephen, to you. Oh, we actually are at the scores here. So if you haven't entered your scores in the chat, go ahead and do so now. Let's jump into the chat for a second. Brian got 100 for school choice. Another 100 for no school. 100 to Andy for Molon Lab.
Come and take it.
I don't even know what that is.
Come and take it. Okay. Nice.
100 to Andy. Same thing. 100 to Brian for Epstein Island. And that's clipped. 100 to Andy for having a longer beard than less tan Vin Diesel.
I just shaved my beard too, by the way. I knew it was going to happen. I went to clip it and I clipped too much. And I went, well, it's all going to come off now. It's just going to look ridiculous.
That's funny. 100 to Steven for red flag laws. Chris is bouncing around now. He's on Rumble. I think he keeps on changing his PFP too. So 100 to Steve for red flag laws are lawless. 100 to Steven for talking bad about politicians. Nice answer for Brian. 100 points. 100 to Steven for moving the camera. Happy not to see your boogers anymore. Oh, Leslie's here. Leslie was on the last show. Welcome, Leslie. 100 to Andy. Minus 100 to Brian for making me come up with a pro-cannibalism argument. Difficult but not impossible. Question is, would Brian's German cannibal pass Steve's health inspection? Yeah, that's...
Oh, Ecolab. Yeah. You have them come in ahead of time. I used to be a cook. I know Ecolab. They would do a fantastic bang-up job. They'd make sure that all of your cleaning services were nice, sterilized. If you're going to chop that man up, you make sure that you store in proper fashion, chicken on the bottom,
Right.
then you're humans, and then you can put your fish on top. So yeah, no, we're good.
That's way too detailed of a plan right there. So why'd you get kicked off of YouTube? Cannibalism? Yeah.
Instructional cannibalism.
500 to Terry for keeping up with the chat. Yeah, Terry's great. Minus 100 to Free for the wording of this question. Which one? The one where I worded it twice? I think I should get bonus points for wording it twice. And 100 points to you, Thomas, for not giving yourself points this time. Steve, you had a longer answer than Scott Horton, but said less than Moscript. LOL, minus 100. Minus 100 to Free for wording the sentence like a liberal. Thank you. Plus 100 to Brian. Those aren't AirPods in his ears. They're cotton balls. Good choice, sir. 100 to Brian for despise the government. 100 to Free for waving his hands. Minus 100 to Brian for reminding me. Where are all these words coming from? Arvin Vora.
Arvin Vora was a VP candidate back in the day who just would not give up on the age of consent debate.
Oh, yeah.
Wouldn't let it go, man. Just wouldn't, it's like, I'll tell you this, some inside, baseball from the party. It's, one of the things that Steve and I talk about a lot is what what we want to emphasize, what we don't want to emphasize, what we want to, what is going to be going over well with a general population as you're trying to grow the party, and what fights we do or do not need to get involved with or put forward, strongly as a party. There's so many things that you can highlight that are so ever present in Americans' lives, and age of consent laws, while important, are not one of those things. So, Arvin Vohra, he really thought it was very important, and he was not for them.
That's the reason why I've been a libertarian my whole life, but ignored the party for so long. So yeah, that's exactly the reason. So
well, Brian, get ready for the press release on cannibalism. It's going to go out tonight. I hope you're ready. I think
but what's the age of consent? What's the age of consent for cannibalism? We're in a loop. It's an Ouroboros.
Consenting cannibals.
Winning. These fine young cannibals.
They throw them in the volcano.
For that, come on! I'm throwing out gold here. She drives me crazy. Ooh.
I say we become a one-issue party, and that's it, right there. Marcus isn't happy. -1,000. I assume that's for me for taking too long. Scientific, you're required to give children life-saving care in the hospital. 100 to Andy. 100 to Andy. Nice answer. Oh yeah. Well, all right, man. That's a lot of points. So, all right, Brian, does your soldier behind you have machine gun?
It's a little bit. It's the original style, or one of the original Obey posters, where it's got the penis daisy. I take it down, but I don't know if I'll be able to get it back out there. But it's actually signed too, signed and numbered by I don't know, whoever the fuck did these Obey posters. So there you go.
That's what she said.
But I thought that's appropriate for libertarian. The Obey.
That's good. And Brian, you'll be happy to know you got 100 points for consensual cannibalism. So
thank you. And by the way, this is a signed Cocaine Bear T-shirt by Elizabeth Banks. I'll have you know, Cocaine Bear, Pride of the Bluegrass. Elizabeth Banks signed. Had the T-shirt before they made the movie.
Excellent. All right, let's jump back into. Oh, we got to do the scores here. Let me refresh the scoreboard here. And
so by LNC law, whoever wins this actually becomes the new chair. And I think right now it's going to be Andy. Andy, buckle up, Buttercup.
I will drive to the McNally Bridge and jump off.
Second prize is you get 2 terms.
I'll take my stab at IT. I'm not sure Hannah will be very happy. We'll see how well
you can say it works on my end a whole lot. You can fake it easy.
All right, so here are the scores so far. And oh no, Brian with all the swag and everything is up 700 points. Andy with 200 and Steve with 100. So lots of ups and downs. I guess we're not reading the negative ones. So Terry's sparing us the negative ones, apparently.
I'm also leading in negative points. So
yeah, you got the lead in positive and negative. Yeah, but the negative's very close. So you're offending everyone equally. So good job on that.
I need to start campaigning on cannibalism. I think that's the topic of the night. So I'm going to start terraping those answers.
This is very Trumpian, like workshopping different ideas. Like, should we do cannibalism? What do you guys think? Tariffs on cannibalism? What do you think?
I can't wait for the next LMC board meeting. So guys, cannibalism, hear me out. I was on a game show. It's winning.
So I'm in food service, right?
And I've got the perfect company.
Excellent. Oh, Kilburn's here. Welcome, Kilburn. Thanks for the repost. Appreciate it. Almost 2,500. Keep it going. Lots of fun. All right. So got that out of the way. And so back to you, Steve. Privacy and surveillance. Should mass surveillance be outlawed?
By the government? Yes, absolutely. 100%. I think the government basically knows everything about you. They're actually working with private corporations like Palantir, which are getting to know everything about you. With the advent of AI, they're going to be able to create profiles on you, find out who you are, what you like, are you a political dissident, and basically turn U.S. justice system into a sort of minority report type government. And that's where we're heading. It's very concerning. I just hope our names touch on the government watch list. And I hope we share the same FEMA camp. I like camp. Could be a lot of fun. I don't know. But hopefully there's a lot of activities for us. But yeah, I think the whole surveillance network should be outlawed. It's one of the crucial issues of the day. Edward Snowden exposed a lot of what's going on, and that only breaches the surface because that was years ago. So what do they have now? They've got private networks like Prism, which take all the network traffic, and AT&T fusion centers. So they get to know who you are, what your network traffic is, what your incognito mode, searches are, which Google knows, by the way, too. And guess what? They all work with the government. So if you don't have a VPN, if you don't have Proton Mail or any of these other services, the government probably knows more about you than you know about yourself. And I wouldn't be surprised if these AI companies are building profiles on us too. So we're heading into a brave new world. It's very exciting and interesting. I would like to not be thrown into prison for thought crimes or alligator Alcatraz if they start going after political dissidents. But we're headed there. And if COVID taught us anything, it's that it only takes the right emergency for our politicians to turn into tyrants. So the nice little lady down the street running for city council might be the next tyrant if there's the right emergency. And they may be scared enough to say, hey, these pesky libertarians and all their thought crimes, we got to start reeling them in. So we should absolutely be against the surveillance state. I had high hopes for Tulsi Gabbard. I don't know if she's going to be able to go against the behemoth as the director of national security or not. But I am always extremely skeptical of the government and the surveillance state. It's scary enough what private companies already have on us. They know everything about us. There's like 1,000 things in every profile they have about you, from clicking around the internet and accepting cookies and, basically agreeing to their terms of service. So don't accept those. And we need to ban the surveillance state and cut the Leviathan's head off. That's my position on surveillance.
Even those bot things and the CAPTCHA things, go and look at your internet history to, prove you're a human or whatever. So yeah, like pretty much every time you hit a button, it spies on you. So you got to be really careful with that. Great answer. Really well thought out. So thank you. Brian, to you. Should facial recognition tech be banned for law enforcement?
This is an interesting one because you could argue that facial recognition technology could be useful with identifying criminals, but at the same time, who isn't a criminal in our society today? Who isn't complicit in something? Of course, is the very famous book, and citing the fact that everybody commits 3 federal crimes a day, 3 felonies a day. So when we say that we're going to give up a privacy right, like facial recognition technology, because we're afraid of the outcomes, aka terrorism. Well, what we're doing is opening the door, similar to what Stephen was saying with government surveillance of, our internet and AI and the usage of AI. Considering how advanced AI has become, all that's going to happen if we open that door, which frankly is already open, so it's a little bit of a moot conversation, but it's already been opened. They will track you at all point in times. We already have seen the CCTVs that are ever present in the UK. We already know that people like the police department or the federal government can access your Ring cameras. So they already have you, and everything they're doing currently with the identifications going through the airport further cements that fact. They have your data. They have your face. Every time you fly, you have to do this. You have to log in. It is forced compliance. There's nothing at this point I feel that we can do to stop it other than to eliminate the agencies that can utilize it. I'm not saying to defund the police completely. Of course, your localized police services are more than welcome, and you can hire them and fire them as privatized institutions. But the 3-letter agencies that would most utilize this technology cannot be salvaged and must be abolished. And that would solve the problem right there.
And Brian mentioned that the average American commits 3 felonies per day. I commit a few more just in case somebody's not pulling their own weight. So I'm doing my part.
Is that a threat?
And I got in trouble a couple of weeks ago for saying if you go to a protest, wear a mask. So they did not like that. But I said, wear a mask if you go to a protest.
Can I free apologies? I apologize. I'm slowing things down here. But did you guys see because you've got Zoran Mondami, Kami Mondami running for governor in New York City, and the Democrat or the Socialist Convention of 2025 just happened. And, libertarians have a preconceived reputation, which I think we're bucking, by the way, with us handsome, cool looking dudes here having this conversation. But the Socialist Convention 2025, they're praising, Zoran. Every one of them is exactly what you'd think a socialist in 2025 would look like, including the fact that every one of them was wearing a mask in 2025 at their own convention. Can't make it up.
Oh my God.
I don't know
Are
if
they
you've
at
ever
least
seen-
clown masks?
I mean, we're still terrified of COVID. Socialist. To be a socialist, you have to socialize. Take off your masks.
I don't know if you've ever seen there were some clips pulled from a socialist convention, the DSA convention years back, where they're telling everybody, hey, keep your voice down. We have people here who are ultra sensitive to stimulus. Don't clap. Do the jazz hands thing or whatever. It's really interesting. It's exactly what you'd expect.
Yeah, they had like 30 minutes of points of privilege about like, can people not wave their hands? Can people not talk loud? Can people not make eye contact? Like, it was all this weird stuff. Yeah.
If someone tries doing it at the national convention, I'm calling it dilatory.
I feel like you shouldn't have said that. Now everyone's going to intentionally do that.
Yeah.
And you learn nothing in your 6 months.
All of that about anxiety because of cannibalism. That they'll all be about that.
Except nobody will be able to raise their jazz hands because it'll just be stumps.
Yeah.
Stumps up if you're offended, everyone.
Oh,
Our sergeant of arms will be a cannibal. I can promise that much.
Sergeant of no arms.
He'll eat your arms.
Sergeant of wings. Oh my God. Oh, all right, Andy, to you. Should the government be banned from working with tech companies like Palantir and those sorts of tech companies?
Yes. They should not only should they be banned from working with them, they should be banned from regulating them. What I fear almost more than the government working with tech companies is a world where the government basically grants a license to these tech companies where they can't be held liable for anything they do, but then doesn't reap any benefits of that to the degree that there are any. So yes, they shouldn't work with them, but even more importantly, they shouldn't regulate these tech companies and they shouldn't shield them from liability.
All right. Let me get a couple from the chat here. All right, Kat, -100 to me. It's all Greek to me, Kat. I don't care. I really don't care. Chris, 200 to Brian for all the wall swag. 200 to Brian. Same thing. 100 to Andy 4. That's somewhere. All right, here we go.
Just in general.
100. Yeah. 100 to Andy for trying to stay out of the cannibalism debate. Yeah.
It's not a debate when we all agreed.
All I can think about is various kosher jokes, and I just can't bring myself to say any of them. So. I'm pretty sure tariffs on cannibalism is what Israel's inflicting on Palestine right now.
Yeah. Now I want to make a matzo ball joke, but I probably shouldn't do that either. So, all right. 100 to Stephen for no surveillance. Chimpanzees are our closest relatives and also partake in cannibalism. 100 to Brian and Steve. That got weird real quick. 100 to Steven. I know what a VPN is too. LOL. Don't laugh at me, Casey. There we go. 500 to Steven. If the police come and knock on his window to make sure he's not a stalker. -100 to Brian because I do not commit 3 federal crimes a day.
Not that you know of.
Well, it was nice that Steven's picking up the slack then.
You'll ask Palantir about that.
You're right. 100 to Brian for avoiding facial recognition technology by looking like every Harkonnen from Dune.
Not Sting in the original. He had hair.
When did we start doing Tuesday? A couple weeks ago? Last week? I don't know. We've done a few Tuesdays, I think. 100 to Brian for pointing out that the communists are dressed like ICE agents. Minus 100 to Andy for not working with tech companies. My son needs a job. 100 to Andy for banning government. What's with the moon window right at butt level?
This is an addition. This part of the house. That's the original house. That's down to the basement. If you need to watch somebody take a dump in the half bath,
Nice.
prime real estate.
Oh, it's a good call. People will really pick apart what's going on. Oh, Amity's here. Welcome, Amity. 100 to Steve for being brave enough to put up with the LNC. Yep. 100 to Steven for the truck rant. 100 to Andy for looking like he's doing his podcast from the country tiffin country
house,
kitchen
man.
buffet.
I moved in here 9 months ago. I gotta paint these walls.
Oh, we've got some pandering here. Minus 500 to anyone that doesn't endorse no Mad Dog for LNC. Minus 100 to everyone for not telling me about Tuesday. We posted it a few times. I don't know what else to do about that, but
I'm more of a Friday night guest, if we're being honest.
the Fridays have been getting kind of wild. So like I think we're gonna start doing like an after dark kind of version with crazier questions, and there's lots of drinking. Thomas and Mark tried to turn it into a weed fest one night. So
Michael Jackson could be your mascot because he was after dark.
Yeah, there you
He
go.
became light.
Yeah. All
What up,
right.
Bo? Get it?
Made me laugh. All right. So, Stephen, back to you. Should social media be protected like the public square?
That's an interesting question. I've had a lot of people say that, X is the public square or, whatever. I don't know if that's necessarily true or false. I think only like 10% of people actually make like 90% of the content on X. So it's a bit biased. It's people that tend to be highly political, at least at my algorithm. It's not exactly the same thing, but I think the question is, should it be protected in the same way we protect an actual public square, which is yes, to First Amendment. Should private companies be allowed to do whatever they want to do? Unfortunately, yes. I think they should be allowed to limit or expand on certain speech or whatever they already do through algorithms to reward certain content that goes viral and makes them a lot of money. So a lot of times you don't get the same level of public squaredness that you get actually out in the real world. And it actually encouraged libertarians to actually go out in their own communities and talk to people. Actually go out in the real public square, which is your own hometown, your own community where your people live, and talk to them about the things that matter, especially that matter to them, because that's really what's most important. When we post on X or Facebook or wherever, we're not really connecting with the people that actually matter. There's cases of people being like from Pakistan, and they have these pro-American accounts that have millions of viewers. I think the pro-West guy is like from somewhere in like, I don't know, Eastern Europe or like somewhere in the East. So a lot of these people don't even really represent our actual constituents. And we have to keep that in mind, that it's not a real public square. It's a highly curated space. We often get moved into echo chambers with people that all agree with us. And we think, oh, well, they all agree that, we should end the Fed or this or that, which a lot of people, probably do, or they don't know what the Fed is. And we have to remember that it's not a real public square. We have to go out in our own communities and communicate with people. I know we don't often like to get out of the house and do that, but we have to. It's our job as ambassadors of the philosophy to do so. And so, yes, should the First Amendment right to platforms be protected? Yes. Should the FBI and the government and everybody else be out of public squares or be out of social media? Yes. The LNC got word from the FBI that they wanted to look at our account because of the elections back in, I think in 2024. We told them to F off, had to do with Russia and everything else. And we weren't we weren't willing to play ball with the feds. And so they do have their eyes on social media. Zuckerberg said that the FBI basically knocked on his office door and wanted to do a bunch of operations there. And to be clear, a lot of money goes into social media to astroturf or use bots or to change public perception on things. So once again, a lot of it is curated, is astroturfed, and you can't always rely on it. It does have a good impact and make waves of social media, but I veto the fact that it is the true public square. But at the same time, I do understand it is a sort of online public square in many ways that should be protected under the First Amendment. Oh, Free, you're muted.
Yeah,
Yep,
thanks.
you're on mute. Minus
I do that once a show just to see if anybody's listening to me. So I've lost 2 accounts during the Elon Musk free speech era, so that was a bust in my opinion. So, all right, Brian, to you. Category is police and justice reform. Should no-knock raids be illegal?
Well, you know what? In the situation where this is actually a far trickier question than people think. So I would say that predominantly, yes, if it's a private residence, I think no-knock raids absolutely should be illegal because there's too many times when it's false information. Swatting, for example, is another no-knock raid, should be illegal. However, I do understand if you're law enforcement, it doesn't make a lot of sense if you're going into a place that you know for a fact is a drug operation, let's not say drug operation because I'm for legalization of drugs. Let's say a sex trafficking operation for under the age of consent girls, then you probably don't want to be knocking on the doors, okay? Especially in a libertarian society where we believe that everybody should have the right to own guns. So no, you probably shouldn't have the ability to say you have to knock on the door before you go in there because frankly, let's not forget that police officers are in fact human beings. They have lives to live. We shouldn't just view them as soldiers like the American government does and send them into battle to be killed. So you do have to have a happy balance between that. But I would insist that you have to have a preponderance of evidence in regards to this, that you do have to have surveillance for multiple days on a location to make sure that you're actually going to the right place. And that way, hopefully babies don't get burned alive by flashbang grenades and people shot in the face for defending their homes from what they think are burglars because the police have the wrong door, the wrong day, the wrong location, bad information, or wherever it might be. So really, the responsibility comes back around on the trusted law enforcement agencies to do what they're supposed to be doing. And if they are not capable of doing that, they should be held personally responsible, legally responsible, no qualified immunity. They should be sued into the dirt, and you should be able to fire them and hire a new agency that can do the job correctly.
And by trusted law enforcement agencies, Brian means ICE.
I knew someone was going to call me out on that. As soon as I fucking said it, I knew somebody was going to do it, and it was you, Andy. You're the one who backstabs because you're a piece of trash. And
It's in our blood. I can't help it.
Putting French fries on a sandwich makes it special. No, it doesn't. It just makes you
we
fat.
have a cracked bell.
Yeah, we do have a cracked bell. It cracked fighting for the freedom of this country, much like my brain fighting for the LNC.
There goes my Prementi Brothers sponsorship. So thanks for that. So
Yeah, sure. Paid you in sandwiches, did they?
But to be clear, we are not against no-knock raids on consensual cannibal parties. I just wanted that for the record.
I'm going to bait you on that right now. No, move on.
Our first cannibalism debate. Excellent. All right. Andy, to you. Should all victimless crimes be decriminalized?
Yes. The idea of a crime is that there is a party who's been injured in some way. And so if you can't point to somebody who has been, then there isn't a crime. I mean, even in other ways that our federal government operates, this is the case. You could be objectively correct about an issue, but if you don't have standing, you're not going to get heard in the Supreme Court. It should be the same with criminal law. If there's not someone with standing, there isn't a crime.
Okay. Stephen, to you. Should body cams be mandatory and publicly accessible?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I know for years we've wanted body cameras, and I think they do more good than bad. I know there's some cases where body cameras are covered up or whatever, but ultimately, just like dash cams, they tell the full story. So when it comes to public police, I err on the side of yes, they'd be not only for the police but for the citizens mandatory, just like dash cams on police cars. It's a black box. It shows what was done, and in a lot of cases, I think it's either exonerated victims of police brutality or just said, here's the facts. So I think that generally speaking, when it comes to law enforcement, holding them accountable, I think they're a good thing. And I support making them mandatory for our public police. And Papa John's just pulled up. I did not order a pizza. Maybe I should.
No,
Maybe I should just be
please
like,
not.
yeah,
Please
I'm
tell
in
me
my
it's to
truck.
your car? To your car?
What's
To your house?
Yeah, I don't know. They
To
just
your
pulled up
car
in
or
front of my
house?
motorcycle. I don't know. They pulled up in front of me. I don't know. I don't know where they're going. Maybe they're knocking the door. Maybe
I'm
it's
sending-
undercover. They knew I was here.
I'm sending all of your
undercover cop.
competitors there to try to ruffle you a little bit. You know,
Did somebody swap me with a pizza? This is like the best. It's the best doxing ever. Oh, they just pulled off.
are they wearing a body cam though?
I'll have to ask. What should pizza drivers have mandatory body cameras, and also just to make sure everything was on the order and it was delivered to my house? Because I've had DoorDash where they've gone to somebody else and they've taken the order like in the same hotel hallway, and I was really upset about it because someone took my food. And I think in those instances, maybe there's an argument there to be made that food delivery workers should have mandatory body cameras. But I'll digress. Not a very libertarian talking point.
All right, Brian, to you. War and foreign policy is the category. Should the U.S. close all foreign military bases?
Yeah, that's an easy one. Yes, absolutely. Yes, we absolutely should. We should close all the bases. They're unnecessary. They simply engage us in foreign entanglements. They are used as a negotiating tactic by the government to impose our will on foreign nations. Let's not forget that we also pay out the ass for NATO currently, and will continue to pay out the ass for NATO as negotiated by Donald Trump with the tariffs. Essentially, European Union essentially said, hey, we're going to give you tariff benefits, but you're going to keep funding NATO, which is what's happening. So we're going to put our troops in harm's way all around the world, fostering ill will rather than good. In the meantime, paying troops to stay abroad rather than coming home. And even if we want to have a big military, let's say you bring those troops home from the foreign bases. Well, guess what? Your local town, your local economy is going to have a boost from that. Not saying I'm all for the government, not saying I'm all for the military, but let's just be practical here. It's throwing money down the toilet while endangering every American in the pretend war for, I don't know, the global police force, the global order, hegemony, whatever you want to call it. It is a waste of cause. It is a waste of time that supports the military-industrial complex and endangers us far more than we would be possibly endangered if we simply had our troops at home waving the big stick.
I agree. Andy, to you. Should foreign aid be zeroed out?
Yes. First of all, it's stolen money in the first place. So they shouldn't even have the federal government shouldn't even have the funds available to send to foreign governments. But it's ridiculous that on top of putting a gun in my face and taking 30% of my income, they're then sending it to other countries that use it to subsidize programs that we don't even have here. Or worse, to subsidize war and starvation and famine and genocide in countries like Palestine.
Couldn't agree more. Stephen, to you. Should we stop selling weapons to foreign dictators?
Absolutely. Throughout the century, we've sold weapons to many despot regimes, oftentimes because the U.S. wanted to compete with the Soviets. A lot of countries in the Middle East and around the world have been sold weapons either to fight the Soviets or fight our enemies, foreign governments. And we've essentially been in the business of propping up foreign regimes for a long time. Now, the question is, should we be selling them? It's kind of interesting because when you consider the U.S. military-industrial complex, there could be a libertarian argument to be made that if other countries want to buy weapons from our U.S. companies, they should be allowed to do so. I generally agree with that. I think that foreign governments should be allowed to purchase weapons from the U.S. military-industrial complex. The U.S. military-industrial complex, of course, is largely funded by the U.S. Government and the DoD, and probably wouldn't exist or have the research if it wasn't for U.S. tax dollars going to the DoD, the largest purveyor of abuse, fraud, and waste. They failed every single audit they've given for the past several decades. So who knows what we're actually giving away or selling away. But in general, in a purely libertarian society, if we have a military-industrial complex, foreign entities should be able to purchase from them. I believe that in the case of countries like Ukraine or Israel or Taiwan or anybody else, they should be able to purchase our weapons fine, but we shouldn't be giving them money to basically say, here's a couple $2 billion, and now take that gift card voucher over to Raytheon and Halliburton and all these other companies and buy your weapons from them. If they want to do what they want to do, that's in their name, not in our name. So ultimately, I think that if the U.S. wants to be a weapons supplier, we can be a weapons supplier. I'm a capitalist. I believe in capitalism and free markets. We can certainly sell you a lot of guns. How you use those guns is on you. And if you're convicted of war crimes or anything else, you should be convicted in an international court and be held to justice, which we currently, I think Netanyahu is currently wanted by the ICC, and he hasn't been nabbed yet. The United States doesn't recognize the ICC. We have a lot of war criminals of our own here in this country. So if we have a just judicial system that is based on the rights of the human individual, then we should be taking these despots to prison. We shouldn't be providing them weapons. They should be in prison. But if they want to buy the weapons and they're using them for a somewhat just cause, then we shouldn't necessarily say to Ukraine or whatever country that's using these weapons supposedly in self-defense not to buy them. But we should absolutely be holding criminal governments accountable in foreign countries and not using U.S. taxpayer dollars to send them weapons in our name.
Absolutely agree. And if we stop destabilizing, most of the world, there'd be less weapons that people wanted to buy. So that would be helpful too. Brian, to you, should the U.S. trade with every nation?
The U.S. absolutely should trade with every nation. This reminds me of the position that some of the neocons take and some of the hardliners take in regards to, let's say, North Korea, right? Well, North Korea, we're going to sanction the shit out of them as we are other countries we don't agree with because we don't like their politics. We don't like how their dictatorship works, like in the state of North Korea. But if we know one thing, it's that capitalism, raising the level of quality and living, raising the technology level of these countries actually helps to foster freedom and liberty and interest in other cultures. Of course, we have to trade with them. I mean, the primary driver for the difference between like East and West Berlin is looking over and seeing, my God, look at the difference between these societies. North Koreans were getting infatuated with South Korean sitcoms and soap operas. I mean, they would drop soap operas over the wall to show them what they were missing out on. Trade is key to that. If you can raise the level of income just a little bit by trading with people of a different nation and give them a taste of what's possible, well, then that benefits everybody. If, in fact, it undermines whatever regime you hate far more than a sanction would be, far more than cutting them off from your international community would be, and frankly, costs us a hell of a lot less. It can even make us some money in the meantime. So yeah, freedom, free markets, trade, conversations, all these things lead to a global, happy, lucky, everybody gets along REM society. So of course.
The Libertarian Party is pro K-pop and pro cannibalism. You heard it here first, folks.
Shiny, happy people holding hands, REM. That's what
Oh, that was a mouthful. All right. Oh, so we have the nuke feature here. Steven got nuked for the long answer. So that'll take Steven all the way back down to 0.
I will say, look, just real quick. There'll be a topic going through the news cycle. I'm like, Steven, I'll text him like, Steven, give me a quick short quote I can send to media. 17 paragraphs every single time. What am I going to do with this? He's like, yeah, feel free to edit it down. I'm like, oh, great. All right. Let me spend the next hour and a half doing that. No.
I'm the opposite side of the
He's a very
spectrum.
thoughtful man.
If you asked for my comments, you'd get a 1 word back, dumb. Like just ass hat or something, that'd be my response. So all right. Yeah, so Steven got taken back down to 0. I lost that comment. I don't know where it went, but so any former contestant, and now this will be available to all of you. There we go. This will be available to all of you as former contestants after the show, but any former contestant can nuke someone, taking them all the way back down to 0. And we found a flaw in it because if you're below 0, it takes you up to 0. So it could go either way. So, yeah. So Steven's taken back down to 0. So we're right about to go into scoring here. So let's go to Andy and then go to the scores. And all right, Andy, to you. Category state and local control. Should states be allowed to nullify federal laws?
Yes. This was the original conception of our country. Sovereignty should be placed in the smallest unit possible, which is the individual. So states are certainly smaller than the federal government and a better custodian of our rights. And so they should be allowed to nullify federal laws. Cities should be allowed to nullify state laws, and individuals should be allowed to nullify any of them.
I agree. All right, let's go to the scores. Let's go to the chat first. Put your scores in the chat if you haven't done so already. The chat backed up on me here. Oh, that's nice, Amity. 100 to me for being the most based game show host there is. That's only since Wink Martindale died, if you're keeping track at home. And 100 to me for holding up the Rumble chat. Thank you, Chris, and all of your different PFPs. 100 to Brian for knowing who Michael Jackson was and that song. 200 to Steven just because he found a way to stream video while living in his car. Minus 100 to Steven for not wearing a seatbelt. Yeah, the car's coming into play here. I lost points for being muted. I am not muted any longer, though, so I'm taking those points back. 100 for muting Kelsey. There we go. 100 to Steven for the long answer. Oh, so you got points for it. You got nuked, but you got points. Minus 100 to Brian for licking the boot without knocking.
I lick 0 boots, but you have to understand, guys, we can't just go out there. You have to be pragmatic in your takes on some of these things. You have to be. You have to understand. Like I said, I know it's going to get shit for people for that, but guys, you have to understand, you're talking about human beings. You're talking about real life danger and situations. And yeah, I understand we all hate government. We don't think law enforcement should be trusted. I agree with you. But even if you hire a private law enforcement agency, what are they basing their evidence on? Like you have to be pragmatic. And I'm not a prag caucus guy, but you have to be a little bit pragmatic in some of the way you couch these things. You can't just flat out say get rid of all of them, because it's going to get a lot of people killed, and more people killed than I think are going to die in no-knock raids. And I know that's going to get me even more points lost. But if you're talking about communicating this to a broader population base, it's not going to win the argument. I'm just telling you flat out.
So basically, you're doubling down on the negative points. There is really what you're trying to say. So
I think people need to get. They have to get. Look, there's some things you can take a hard stance on as a libertarian, and there's some things you have to be a little bit more nuanced on, and you have to understand what people are saying, where they're coming from, and the tangible impact that's going to have on the people in that profession. You have to understand that.
Someone else didn't like the no-knock raids, Chris. Government isn't responsible enough to know what good evidence is. Well, it's on Pam Bondi's desk. The good evidence is on Pam Bondi's desk, so they do know. At least they know where it is. So,
Brian's right
for
about
making
this.
me forget the question.
So, because I want to win, but he is right.
Oh, so now
there you go. All right, there we go.
That's bad.
Andy only said that because he wants Steven to stay LNC chair. He's tanking his score on purpose.
That's a bad strategy to redistribute the unpopular answer. That's just, I'm just telling you, that's a bad strategy right there. Brian got 100 for making Kilburn forget the question. Minus 100 to Brain. No such thing as a trusted law enforcement agency.
Well, okay, quick counterpoint of that. But look, you guys, we live as libertarians. Okay, a trusted law enforcement agency. If we don't have a law enforcement agency, which I'm all for getting rid of them, you're hiring a private agency to do the same thing. Now you can install whatever standards you want to have on them, but you're still trusting them to do that work. So again, this is not a good point. It's not a salient point when we're talking about law enforcement. If you want somebody that's got a kid chained up to a bed to get busted and they're going to go in there, you're trusting evidence that they're going to have to collect and that you're presenting to them either way, whether that is government, whether that is private institution. So I'm sorry, that is not a point that makes any sense. Either way, you're still trusting somebody to put that together and take action, unless it's you personally, which, hey, I'm all for it too. But I'm just pointing that fact out.
There's going to be somebody doing evil in the world, and you want somebody able to knock down that door and put a stop to it. We would all prefer that it's not funded at the barrel of a gun, but we all would prefer that somebody is able to stop evil where it exists in the world. And that's going to involve knocking some doors down.
So you're saying there's going to be evil done in the world, and you want the government to be the one to do it.
I said not at the barrel, and I said not
he
funded
did
at the barrel of the
that.
gun.
He did not say that.
I hear what I hear. Oh, we got another one. Brian got nuked for that now. So Amity jumped in and nuked Brian for that. So lots going on
and he's going to be the next LNC chair.
I feel like Amity, much like my wife, is not really listening to my arguments.
I'm gonna go carefully handle my SIG 320.
SIG.
It's an all libertarian show. People don't even have their speakers on. They're just typing their opinions in. They're not listening to anybody.
The SIG P320 really put a dent in the argument that guns don't kill people. People kill people.
Yeah, right.
Oh yeah, Jesus, seriously.
Andy lost points for the Steelers hat. 100 to Andy. No victim, no crime. Minus 100 to Brian for the definition of a crime includes damages. Solid answer on victimless crimes, Andy. 100 points and another 100 just because you're the underdog. If we can come up with some pro-cannibalism content by the 1st of April, that would be ideal. 100 points to Steven. 100 to Steven for ordering Papa John's from the car. Technically, he probably could have gone and gotten it since he was already in the car, but yeah.
I ordered half pepperoni, half human flesh with pineapple. We agree on the human
with
flesh.
some fava beans.
Minus 500 for that, somebody.
200 to Steve for getting doxxed live. Yeah, I asked him to do it on the show if he was going to do it. Terry's already writing the cannibal campaign side, taking notes and names. 100 to Steven for getting bored and ordering pizza. 100 to Steve as he chases down the pizza. The pizza was a good move here. 100 to Steve for refusing to give the pizza man back his car. Minus 100. Terry, stop hitting the buttons at the same time as me. Nuke Andy to make it even. All right, so Casey's nuking Andy. You got to let me press the buttons though, because I don't read very well, and when you're doing a bunch of stuff, I can't see what I'm doing. So, all right, let's see. Minus 100 to Brian for closing military bases. You're going after Kat's family. This is just a bad strategy as well. 100 to Brian. Those military bases are close to my illegal ferret farms.
Let's weaponize those ferrets.
100 to Andy for zeroing out foreign money illegally taken from the U.S. 100 to Steven for international court has some work to do. If it's a just system, then throw them in prison. 100 to Brian for U.S. trading with all nations. 100 to Brian and Steven for coming out as pro-capitalist. Still waiting for Andy, which is suspicious. I still have my emotional support nuke. There you go. 100 to Andy for the wallflower tactic. Come on, Free. You missed the chance to talk trash because I'm the king of long-winded messages. Sorry, Steven. Yeah, I mean, Chris kind of owns that, so you owe him a royalty or something. 100 to Andy for sovereignty to the smaller government control level. 100 to Andy for agreeing. Minus 100 to Brian for doubling back down on no knock.
You already nuked me. I think it's after that the nuke took it all out.
I think I'm in yesterday's comments at this point. I'm so far behind. Minus 100 to Brian for arguing with Amity. 100 to Brian.
It's like the Amity horror.
Yeah, there you go. So Casey's on your side, which means you're wrong. You're 100% wrong if Casey's on your side. Minus 100 to Brian for using the word pragmatic more than 3 times. Libertarians are weird about some topics. We're weird about a lot of topics, let's be honest. Plus 100 to Andy for stopping evil. 100 to Brian for his passionate reply. 500 to Andy for the right answer. Someone needs to stop evil where it exists in the world, but not funded at the top level. 100 to Steve for the nice smile. Minus 100 to Steven, pineapple on pizza. That's just wrong.
Thank you.
They're tactical assault ferrets. Yeah, 100 to Brian. That was a good call. All right, so let's go to the scores here. And there is a lot of mayhem, so let's see how we did here. Oh, we had some big numbers. You can see when you guys were nuked. Steve was in the lead when he was nuked with 2,100. So, yeah, so now we're back down to the low numbers again. 200 tied Brian and Steve. Andy just behind with 100. So now it's anyone's game because you guys pissed off everyone apparently. So
that nuking really helped me out. I was dominating earlier. I only got 100 points since the last time we checked.
No, you were leading when you got nuked.
I was like,
You were-
oh, okay.
Yeah, you were out in front. So, all right. Kilburn says plus 100, so everyone can go home winners. That's nice of you, Kilburn. All right, let's go to the last category here. We're running a little bit behind, and all right. So this one's called Pick One. All right, so pick one. Steve, to you. Best way to fund essential services: voluntary user fees, tariffs only, flat income tax, sales tax, or consumption tax?
Voluntary user fees. The Florida Expressway was actually an idea by a libertarian. You can pay a little bit extra to go a little bit faster, sometimes a lot faster. Here in Florida, you pay an extra couple bucks, gets you to work. Makes sense. It's a user model. If you're using the highways, if you're using whatever, you should pay for it. It shouldn't be coming out of subsidies or what have you. So 100% voluntary user fees should be the way we fund things. And then they should be privatized. And then they can be fully funded by user fees at that point.
I agree. Brian, to you. Biggest threat to the economy right now: inflation, debt, overregulation, global instability, or central bank policy?
All right. I will say, as tempted as I am to go with overregulation, I'll go with central bank policy. Because look, what does all of this really come around to and stem from when we look at global insecurity, when we global shaking of the economic boots in the banking class that is fortified by the fact that they can print money endlessly? Well, it's central banking, right? The greatest threat to not only what's going on with the economy, but also the nation and honestly the world, if you're being perfectly honest, is the interconnectivity of central banking systems. The fact that we are, as a nation, $37 trillion in debt. I think the world over is over $300 trillion in debt, and that these people will do nothing to rein in the spending. I mean, they will go to any ends. I mean, look at the history of central banking and how it has propped up war. And what happens in every one of these circumstances is that war is the end all get out of jail free card for the debts that are accrued. And we are, without a doubt, going towards that precipice. Not only that, not only is war on the table, but also debt robs us of our savings. It robs us of our ability to invest. It robs us of our ability when you've got Donald Trump or Joe Biden putting $4 trillion new of debt on the table. It robs you of your ability to project for the future, what you're going to do with a business, what your investments might be, what your savings might be, where you're going to put your kids, what you're going to do. There's no projecting the future when you have central banks that can undercut you at any time, that can change interest rates on a whim at any time. There is no ability to feasibly understand where we can go. And underneath of all of this, I said, is the threat of a full-scale collapse due to the interconnectivity of all of these economies under central banking. So central banking is the greatest threat to everything, from my opinion.
Great points. All right. Andy, to you. Best way to boost long-term economic growth: deregulate small businesses, end corporate subsidies, decentralize industries, encourage local trade, abolish central banking.
Well, I don't see my preferred answer, which is have a global empire and bomb a bunch of other countries. So I think I'll probably have to go with abolish central banking. I thought you were just going to take it away from me there.
I can take it away. You got something? Go ahead.
Abolishing central banking, to everything Brian just said, would it gets in at the ground level of everything that the economy is. If you don't have a price of lending money, you can't finance anything and you can't plan for anything, which is the entire foundation of the economy. You have to be able to have an accurate price of borrowing money, which is what an interest rate is, which is fundamentally what the Fed distorts.
Yeah, I did run the risk there of central banking being the answer twice in a row. So you got the short end of that stick. So
yeah, you have some Ron Paul lights on. It's you get what you pay.
Exactly. All right, Stephen, to you. Best solution to rising inflation: audit the Fed, return to the gold standard, cut government spending, end bailouts, decentralize currencies.
I don't know if you guys noticed, but Brian had to leave real quick to deliver my pizza. He's not just a comms director. He's a pizza guy. He's also a firefighter, a policeman, a soldier, really talented guy. That was a Johnny Sins joke. But can you bring it back on the screen? I can't see the answers there.
Yeah, you went into a stand-up routine and just gave up on the question, I think.
Let's see. Best solution to rising inflation: audit the Fed, return to gold standard, cut government spending, and bailouts, decentralized currencies. I mean, ultimately, I think a return to the gold standard would be the best solution because, as others have stated, it's the central bank that is what's allowing the government to produce all the money to actually be able to do all these things. So if we return to a gold standard, there's only so much money they can print. They can't fund endless wars. They can't fund the warfare welfare state. It turns into basically a money bank, a cash cow for the government because they can just print endless money. If you go back to Bretton Woods, you see that we've been given this ability to be the world's reserve currency, and it's been abused for the past almost 100 years since World War II. When you look at the rise of BRICS in the East, it actually is what is threatening Western hegemony because the U.S. dollar is now being threatened by the BRICS countries. There's some rumors that they're going to be coming out with a gold-backed currency, and it is why there's a lot of turmoil around a lot of places in the world when it's viewed through that lens. So everything is economics. Everything is central banking. You look through the lens of central banking and U.S. hegemony throughout the world. It's because the U.S. dollar is the reserve currency of the world. And when you look at Libya, when you look at Syria, when you look at all these countries, why do we go after Gaddafi? It's because he wanted to create a gold-backed currency. So he was a threat. So the State Department took him out. Overthrow his government. There's open air slave trading going on in Libya right now. It's all because of the U.S. dollar and U.S. dollar hegemony. You're not allowed to create a currency that is not able to be inflated. That's why Bitcoin is such a big threat to the U.S. Now, there's some speculation that maybe they'll use it against us in some way or whatever. They're not taking it seriously. You can't really buy everything you want in Bitcoin right now. You can get a Bitcoin credit card. It converts to dollars. So it's not a threat yet. But decentralized currencies are a backup to the dollar. And, currencies like Monero, which are trustless and more anonymous compared to Bitcoin, those are currencies that are actually a real big threat to the U.S. and a lot of these despotic governments. So, yeah, I'd say it's the central bank that needs to go, return to a sound money currency, and then abolish the government's ability to actually make that legal tender. So where you have to use it, it's the law. And you'll see the whole system collapse.
Shout out to Zano too, who's sponsoring the Friday shows, and they do a private currency as well and have a whole application and platform around all of that. And they're going to do some amazing things. So keep an eye on Zano. All right, Brian, to you, now that you're back from the pizza run, a lot of weird traveling going on in this show. I don't know how to feel about that. All right. Who interferes most in economic freedom? The IRS, the Fed, Congress, regulators, or special interests?
I mean, other than the IRS, I feel like the Fed, Congress, special interests, regulators are all in bed with each other, are they not? The IRS, I would say, while they have the most tangible impact on you, right? You feel them the most. You probably hate them the most because they're the ones you write the check to. You write the check to the Treasury. The rest of them are already in cahoots. They're all working together. Regulators are working with lobbyists. They're working with the Fed, to manipulate interest rates. The banks get the money first. They're all working in conjunction. So it's hard to say one of those things is the most evil or the most pointed to point the finger at. But when it goes down to it, I would say that regulation, right, is the tip of the spear, because all of these factions are working to get regulations applied first and foremost. Congress has to ratify the committees. They're the ones that appoint these deep state entities that are the ones that have been going, full board to regulate. The congressmen are the ones that are taking kickbacks from the lobbyists, which of course are working with the regulators. So regulations have to be the front and foremost thing that are the most evil, the most poignant. But again, they're all interconnected.
totally agree. And Terry,
Sorry,
threw out
it's funny. I read all the things. I was like, what the fuck was the question? Because I'm like remembering the 5 things. I'm like, I should have been like, put it back up. Yes, I still think my answer holds, but I'm like,
your answer holds. It also would have worked for "Are they all bad?" Which it also works for that. So Terry threw up the link to Zano, intro.zano.org, if you want to look at their introduction there too. Zano's great. As you can tell by me promoting them on a day they're not sponsoring us. So, all right, Andy, to you. Worst economic policy: price controls, corporate bailouts, federal contracts, subsidies, or tariffs?
Corporate bailouts, because corporate bailouts are what is one of the biggest enablers of this canard that people call capitalism. When people say things like capitalism is bad, a huge part of what they're referring to is corporate bailouts that have nothing to do with the root policy of free trade between autonomous individuals. I don't know that there has been anything that has done more harm to people around my age believing in the principles of autonomy and free trade than corporate bailouts. I mean, you just look at what happened over COVID, right? Where it's almost a preemptive bailout for these pharmaceutical companies where they can never have liability for anything. You look at it with things like the Gulf oil spill, right? Where people are in favor of these crazy environmental regulations that if there wasn't bailouts for ExxonMobil, right? They would have taken a bath on that and would show that you actually don't need crazy regulations. You just need to hold people liable for property damage. And so I'd have to say bailouts.
Okay, great. People like cats too, so you're gonna get some points for the cats. So,
I don't know. There was a cat butthole there. I feel like that's
it was
plus 100 minus 100.
It was a bad angle on the cat for sure. All right, Stephen, to you. Best tool to decentralize the economy: local currency, crypto, worker co-ops, community banking, or state opt-outs?
Very interesting question. I'm going to go with state opt-outs. And the reason being is the more you rely on the state and the federal government for the services you need, the more beholden you are to them. So Brian hit me up for a quote in regard to the Israeli boycotting ban, essentially, from the federal government, where states and municipalities that boycott Israeli companies would be withheld federal disaster relief funds. So I live in a hurricane zone, and the fact that we rely on the state and federal government for a lot of the FEMA resources post hurricane, we get hit more than any other county in the United States, shows that you can't rely on the feds for help. I mean, number one, you really can't rely on FEMA for help, not at all. So you have to be prepared, and you have to do things in your community. Private citizens, I think, do it best. I do work in my community with emergency communications, with the EOC, but ultimately, the state's going to hold things hostage. If you say we don't want funding for the roads, well, you have to institute 21 and older alcohol laws. That's how they got that passed. So the federal government has a lot of power in order to tell the states and the municipalities what to do. So if local communities opt out of these things and start to self-fund and self-regulate and actually have local government that's empowered to do the things that you need to do that are necessary, you're not relying on outside sources, and you're acting in a way that is, quite frankly, probably a lot better, because now all the disaster relief and everything else is it's local. So that's how it should be. The more you ask for the state, the more you receive, but the more strings that are attached. And right now they're asking to pledge allegiance to a foreign country. I don't think that's right. It doesn't matter what the country is. And there's a lot of strings attached. There's no such thing as a free lunch, and that goes for the local level too. So opting out of state programs is a powerful solution to getting the state off your back.
Yeah,
I just want to say
timely
something
answer.
real quick here. I do like that Stephen is involved in notifying the local population when there's emergencies, but I don't like that he makes them go through the Wendy's drive-through and it's just him going, "We're gonna die." Would you like a Frosty?
Yeah. The good news is the ice cream machine works. The bad news is you're gonna die.
You're gonna die. You might as well make it a double.
Yeah.
You have 3 days. Will that be number one?
The hurricane is coming. Do you want to dip fries on that, Frosty?
Square patties are coming. Square patties are coming.
You better get out of here.
Brian, to you. Pick one to cut first from the federal budget. Foreign aid, military industrial complex, bureaucratic salaries, corporate welfare, surveillance programs.
Oh my God.
I gave you a whole potpourri of shit here. So
that's a really hard question. I mean, does bureaucratic salaries include everyone in the federal government? If it does, I feel like I have to go with that. As evil as the military industrial complex might be, as evil as, any number of those different categories are, bureaucratic salaries have to be the most expensive thing on the list, right? I mean, you have 80,000 IRS agents the Biden administration was trying to hire. You have countless members of the deep state. You've got countless administrative assistants. I mean, we talk about Randy Weingarten and her $600,000 salary, and how many administrative assistants and assistant vice principals and assistants to the assistants have been hired, and how many congressional staff exist, and how many bureaucrats exist just within the DMV to make sure people aren't scratching their asses. Obviously, that if you can cut bureaucratic salaries, you would instantaneously shrink the government, I would say, without hyperbole, by half. Not only in so far as the funding of it, but as the operational capacity of it. In fact, you'd eliminate it, right? I mean, there's the old adage, if you could hit that button right now to end the state, you'd mash it as hard as you can. You'd break your finger, and eliminating bureaucratic salaries would immediately end the government. So that's the de facto answer.
I like your thinking there. You work through that nicely. But yeah, cut the salaries and they'll all go away. No paycheck, they go home. All right, Andy, to you. Best way to keep officials honest: term limits, mandatory asset disclosures, public live streaming of meetings, recall elections, ban lobbying after office.
Can you keep this on screen for a sec? So,
I can.
First of all, definitely not term limits. For every one Thomas Massey, you have 1,000 Mitch McConnells. And so you are biasing towards horrible by having term limits. You can easily replace somebody good with somebody horrible. Mandatory asset disclosures, they will always find 1,000 ways to obfuscate that kind of thing. It's not really going to do much. Public live stream of meetings. LNC meetings get live streamed. You see how productive those are. I don't think live streaming has led to any net good compared to not being live streamed. In fact, I think it leads to a lot of grandstanding that maybe a session could be productive if there wasn't an audience implied. Recall elections, the politicians will just buy them. I think banning lobbying after office is really the big one. It eliminates a lot of the incentive to do corporate giveaways while you're in office. Also, non-butthole view. I need the points.
Stop pandering to our female audience, Andy.
And I like that the LNC meetings are live streamed. It cured my insomnia, so I appreciate that. And so thank you for doing that. And,
I think every time we live stream an LNC meeting, we lose like 50 YouTube subscribers because it's not what they signed up for.
All right, last round. So Stephen, back to you. Best way to expose shady laws: single issue bills, 72-hour reading rule, plain language summaries, public law writing process, AI analysis of impact.
100% single issue bills. Even with 72 hours notice, it's not enough time to read through thousands of pages of bills or pages of a bill that has many different topics being covered. There's committees that can edit bills 24 hours before. It still doesn't matter. It's way too big of a bill. Most people don't read it. Even with all their staffers reading it, they don't get the full picture and the full impact. Impacts do. When Florida actually passed an amendment where they have to put the actual impacts, both financial and legal, which is really great. It does help. So that would be a close runner-up. But if you have single-issue bills, it's very clean-cut and easy. It's going to give Congress more work because they don't like it. They can't pass giant omnibus bills, which they like to do, and pretend that their side is against it or for it, and the other side is against it or for it. Because quite frankly, with these big omnibus bills, the side that's in power is always for it. The side that's against it is always against it because they're not in power. But it has all the same bipartisan pork no matter what, because there's things in there that they want, their lobbyists want, and the bureaucrats want. So if you have a single issue bill, you can only vote on one subject at a time. Yeah, maybe they have to live in Congress. Good. They probably won't get through all the bills in session. Even better. And they'll be forced to vote on very specific items, which I think will do a lot more to expose the biases and the position of politicians than a giant omnibus bill. So just like in most city councils and county councils, they usually do single issue bills. They have a lot more time to go over it. In Congress, they pass these multi-thousand-page bills that, you know, do all these crazy things, and oftentimes you don't even really know what's in there till way later and what the impact's going to be. So keep it single issue. It'll solve all the other problems. It'll be a lot easier to read. And yeah, I'd say single issue bills for sure.
All right. And this one hurt a little, Amity. Minus 100 to everyone, because this is starting to feel like a never-ending LNC meeting. So that's exactly the vibe we're going for. So thank you for that. All right, Brian, to you. Best fix to restore separation of powers: end executive orders, congressional veto over agencies, limit judicial activism, limit unelected bureaucrats' powers, and strict adherence to the Constitution.
I'm going to go with end executive orders. Strict adherence to the Constitution is an adorable notion, but as we've seen before, it doesn't work, especially not in real time. Look to COVID, for example, when they did numerous unconstitutional things, and thank God, 3 years later, the Supreme Court came around and said, hey, don't do that. But yeah, executive orders. We look at the power of the executive branch and how Congress has just bent over, you know, like, much like Andy's cat's asshole and just taken it. Well,
You're really fixated on that.
It was just a perfect image for the Congress bending over. So they bend over like a furry kitten, exposing themselves for presidential power. And when you look at the amount of reach that has, right, it's not only into free speech. Look what Donald Trump just tried to do. We just talked about it. He tried to tie federal aid for disaster relief to cities and states trying to boycott a foreign nation's interests. This is executive power gone insane, run amok. You know, look at the war powers. You look at the amount of influence the president can have over economic matters with tariffs. Economic powers, war powers, free speech, whatever you might imagine, these are all being abused by executive power. So if you can eliminate that or rein it in massively, if the Congress could grow a pair of balls or labia, then you finally have a chance at reining this in and getting the established, separation of powers back in check. Until that happens, you have no chance of doing it because it will consistently grow, and every president will come in and try to undo the previous president. So you have an implicated interest in continuing that process and making it bigger and worse for the rest of us.
All right. Last question of the night to Andy. Who should regulate firearms? No one, state legislatures, local communities, private certification, or gun owners themselves?
Well, private certification, the implication being that the certification agency can stamp it or not stamp it, and you're still free to do as you please. Then private certification agencies, if you're taking that to mean that, like, if a private certification agency said no go, then you couldn't buy it, then I would say no one. People can make choices for themselves. We were asked to drop it earlier, but the SIG P320, you're seeing private people in real time expose a safety issue that evidently the Air Force, through years and years of usage, didn't find. So I think people are perfectly capable of finding issues and deciding for themselves what they'd like to own and use.
Great answer. All right. Put your scores into the chat. That was the last question here. Let's jump into the chat before we reveal the winner of tonight's game. And let's see here. Minus 100 for not trying to win and playing nice. Yeah, Marcus likes it a little bit grittier. 100 to Steven for the Suncoast Parkway voluntary use fees. 100 to Andy for end the Fed. 100 to Andy for having the preferred answer. 100 to Andy. I keep my money in several cans buried around the yard. 100 to Steven for gold answer. Minus 100 to Steven for return to the gold standard. Where's the gold? Oh,
Right
they're
here.
going to live stream it. They're going to
Gold
live stream
standard.
it. Yeah. 100 to Andy for corporate bailouts, government picking winners and losers. 50 to Andy for the kitty. 100 minus 100 to Andy. BP said they were sorry in a very sensual way on South Park. 100 to Andy for no corporate bailouts. 200 to Andy for the cat. Minus 100 to Steven for living in a hurricane zone. Minus 100 to Brian for not counting PBS to cut, or for not picking PBS to cut. Minus 200 to Brian for calling out the military evil. Minus 1,000 to Brian for not picking foreign aid.
Let me make a counterpoint to all these. When you cut bureaucratic salaries, who's going to write the checks for foreign aid? Who's writing the checks to PBS? Who's the middleman to figure out what to get, where to send it, who's running to what? Guess what? They don't exist, guys. So I just solved all your problems.
Fair point, but I also wouldn't be surprised if they could just write themselves checks too. So that
I've tried to do that. Illegal. So that's what 7-Eleven told me.
Minus 100 to Andy. It's a tricky question. You can't keep officials honest. 200 to Andy for banning lobbying after office. 500 to Steven for picking single issue bills. Minus 100 to Steven for only caring about single issues. Some of us are married. 100 to Steven for knowing Florida law. Minus 100 to Brian for banning executive orders.
This is a witch
Just
hunt.
ban the rhinos. 100 to Brian for ranting about executive power. 500 to Steven, single issue bills. 500 to Brian, no on EOs. These answers give us all hope. And 100 to Terry because of girl power. So, all right. You guys ready to see the scores and see who won this?
I have a feeling I lost.
Jump back into it here.
I can be able to retire.
Low scores here, but we have a winner. Andy with 550 wins it.
I will say it does not speak highly of this audience that cats were a more effective motivator than unpopular correct answers. But I'll take it. I'll take it all day.
Thank you for acknowledging the unpopular correct answers.
That was the worst acceptance speech I've ever heard. You just asked for a recount and to be hazed in the chat. It is better than the time that Tubb went after the chat in the first 10 minutes and then paid for it for 90 more minutes after that.
I waited until the end. The scores are in.
Yeah.
I think our next
and then-
LNC person will be Andy holding his cat, and we're just going to target female voters.
That should
That's
be all
it,
of our
baby.
fundraisers, all of our emails exclusively.
I believe
All
I
right.
beat Steven by the exact margin of points I got for the cat.
It's going to be cannibalism and Andy with cats from here on out.
Cannibalism,
You're
cat.
trying to move on, you can have both.
All right. So, and then Steve with 300, and then Brian minus 100. Brian, you came in last. What did you think of your experience tonight?
I think I learned a lot about the audience here. They're vindictive, and they don't like being disagreed with. They want only tried and true by the numbers, unthoughtful libertarian answers rather than a nuanced logical perspective. No, I had a great time. I learned nothing.
It's too late, but you got 100 for coming in third because that's very libertarian.
Yeah. I learned I like scientific libertarian. I'm gonna hang out with that guy.
He's a great guy. All right, and then Steve, second place. I think this is your second place finish. How did you feel about tonight?
Well, I'm just relieved I'm not going to be gaveling in on next Sunday's meeting. Per the rules, Andy is the new LNC chair. Congratulations, Andy. I got a lot of tech stuff to learn. I dabbled in Linux, so I think I'm qualified. And yeah, I had a lot of fun. It was my second time on the show. I appreciate it. Free, always a good time, always a lot of fun. And yeah, I had a blast. I'll definitely do it again sometime. Maybe we'll get some more staff members on if I can wrestle them out of the LNC cave to come on and do a show. That'd be cool. That'd be really cool.
Oh,
Thanks,
I'm sure
Andy.
after seeing this, they'll be lining up, Steven, after seeing this.
Yeah, exactly. So, Andy, you're the big winner tonight. What did you think of your experience?
I thought it was a great time. I thought it was inevitable when you compare the power of Western Pennsylvania to Philly, LA, or Florida. I think, despite my earlier comments, the chat has excellent taste. And I think I deserved it. I think I earned it. And I think Brian is an egghead.
I don't know how to take that.
Andy, anything you want to plug before we go?
Go to lp.org/donate. Help us out.
Excellent. Good call. Brian, anything you want to plug?
No, just, yeah, I mean, you can follow at Lions of Liberty. We've got a bunch of different shows, a show every day of the week, pretty much, over at Lions of Liberty Network on YouTube, Rumble, wherever you listen to podcasts. If you like the radio voice, you can hear me at least 2 days a week, typically. But yeah, check it out there. And of course, as Andy said, yeah, follow us at the LP Party Guys. We're doing a lot of good work there, putting out some good messaging, trying to grow the party. And Steven's doing a great job. So is Andy. Thank you guys for having us, and appreciate your support. Appreciate your interest.
Absolutely. Don't tell Lou Perez that you didn't have a good time, because I'm still trying to get him on. So
I'll get him on for you. If someone gives me, how many points did I lose by?
A couple
hundred.
Okay, 450 points. No, wait, 650 points.
1 billion. Just put tariffs on everybody. You'll get the points fast.
Oh, perfect.
That's how it works. Just randomly EO some tariffs. Steven, anything you want to plug?
I'm going to tariff the other contestants' answers. Go to lp.org/donate and help support the cause of support spreading libertarianism by both message and real-world impact. Get libertarians elected. Help us to do all the amazing things we are trying to do. We're working on a big project right now to actually reach out to the 700,000 registered libertarians in the 33 states that there is voter registration on. And we're hoping to do the biggest membership drive we've ever done, at least in the past quarter century. And so I'm very excited about it. If you want to contribute to that cause, head over, help keep our staff employed and happy. And you can head over to X at Stephen Nekhaila if you want to follow me. Go to lp.org. If you're not a libertarian, join our newsletter. You'll get the messaging. If you want to donate to the cause, you can donate. You don't have to change party registration if you don't want to, but we certainly would encourage you to do so. If you vibe with our cause, check out our platform. If you agree with most of it, go to your local libertarian meetings, check it out, meet some people, have some beers, have a good time, and yeah, support the cause. Thanks so much for having me again, Free.
My pleasure. And let me add Terry back here. Terry, what did you think tonight?
Well, I laughed a lot. That's a good thing. And I was really glad to see everybody stick to their own views and not just bend over like they do in so many other parties. So great job, you guys. Thanks for sticking to your guns and making me laugh. I needed a good midweek laugh. Thank you again for being here.
Who do we got on Friday?
On Friday, we have David Fight. We have Kyle Davis and Nick Nunnally coming to us live Friday night, 8 o'clock. You guys be here.
Excellent. And thanks so much to everybody in the chat. You guys make this so much fun, and you notice all of the cats, which is nice. And make sure you join us on Friday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. And I appreciate all three of you guys joining us, and I appreciate what you're trying to do to spread liberty and keep the party going and put a dent in the duopoly and the uniparty and all the badness that's going on in DC. So appreciate you guys a ton. like I said, tune in Friday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. Good night, y'all.